welcome to News Hour. Coming up in this edition of the news, African Americans with Sierra Leonean origin received escorts from President Julius Maada Bio at State House. Government to establish an industrial zone between Waterloo and Formal. Former Director General of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service, Jipo Felix George, passes on in the United Kingdom at the age of 77. And Managing Director of Oriel Insurance Company elected as President of the West African Insurance Companies Association. All these stories and more lined up in this edition of News Hour. Stay with us. Welcome to News Hour. African Americans who have found their origin from Sierra Leone have received passports from President Julius Maada Bio at State House. They did several DNA tests to know where they hailed from before coming to Sierra Leone. Since their visit to the country, they have visited Bunk Island and Bo City to acquaint themselves with their relatives. Hawa Mosire reports.
Because I grew up in a family that are lighter shades than me. So I was always hearing about black, black, black. And that's what we should call ourselves, black. And then we changed and started calling ourselves African Americans. And it was nothing. It was empty. So when I found out that I'm Mende and I'm from Sierra Leone, it has given history, closure, relevance to my skin color, my family, and now my family.
There are two words that I think of, validating and closure. There are many things that I have been involved in over the past 30 years, but not able to really validate them or explain. And having this experience, even the pronunciation of words that I was coming across has been validated, that I'm using them properly and I'm pronouncing them properly. I also got closure. I lost a child at 27 years of age in 2016, and I did not have closure. And she was also symbolic of being a Mende. And I really see that now. It's become very clear to me. And I had an opportunity to spread her ashes at Bonte Island as well as under the cotton tree in Freetown.
My name is Kenneth Cast Burgess. My Mende name is Gojo. This entire trip has been a coming full circle of those first questions when you're growing up of where are you from. I think as I got older, and even as a youngster, realizing that in the West, in the diaspora, they lied to us and attempt to make us identify as Americans, but we are not and never were Americans. We were Africans.
Very, very happy, very grateful. I'm glad I made this journey, but not just for the passport, but just to come home and touch the African soil. I can only read about it so much before I need to actually come face to face with the fact of my culture and where I'm from. And I'm just grateful to God to have broken that cycle in my own family. So many generations have lived and died and that don't have the knowledge that I now have. And so now I'm breaking that cycle in my family. And any information, everything that I've learned, my whole entire experience, I'm definitely going to take that home and share with all my friends and family, because I'm proud. I'm proud to be Sierra Leonean.
There are tears of joy for these African Americans finally found their origin. They told the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation that they have been described as African Americans, but they didn't know which part of the world they come from. Updating President Julius Maada Bio about the African Americans, Deputy Minister of Tourism William Robinson told the president that they have been fighting very hard to know where they come from. Mr. Robinson stated that they have already visited Bond and Bo district and they have been given traditional names. They are studying some cultural aspect and learning how at least to greet in the Mende language.
Today we are in the midst of His Excellency, who is in readiness to receive our Sierra Leonean brothers and sisters who have been lately fighting very hard to know where they are coming from, which they have done that for over 15 years ago, and they find out that they are coming from Sierra Leone and Bo-Kakwa Chibom particularly. They have been welcomed to the airport with our national dance troupe, and several activities have taken place over time within this short period.
The team leader of the African Americans, Chevron Fraser, stated that it is 400 years now, 1619 to 2019, since the time of the slave trade, and they were so emotional during their visit to sites which dealt with the slave trade. They have now known their roots, so they will no longer be described as African Americans with no nationality, as they have known that they are now Sierra Leoneans from different districts. She thanked the government and the people of Sierra Leone for accepting them. President Julius Maada Bio commended them for the great strides taken by them in their eagerness to reunite and reconnect with their brothers and sisters. He called on them not to be emotional or cry over spilled milk, as his government is determined to work with them and that they should come back home with their different expertise. The president noted that they will be provided with land during their next visit to build houses and settle down finally.
So for me, we are making a conscious effort at home here. This is a new administration. We are determined, and we want you to come back with the expertise, with the experience, with the knowledge and everything that you have, so that we can bring that to bear on our situation back home here. You should not hesitate at all. We are going to make you feel welcome. We are going to make you feel that compensate for what history has taken away from us all. We will work out the modalities to make sure that when the next time you are here, we allocate land to you too. So you don't have, you have no reason. You build your own houses, so you can as well just sell the, refinance the home wherever you are, and stop those mortgages and come back and build your home, and then be a part of what you are really supposed to be.
The travel director of the Ministry of Tourism, Alia Kagbo, disclosed that it all started last year when he attended the ICT forum in Berlin, Germany, as he alone represented Sierra Leone, and it was at that time that he was introduced to some African Americans who were interested in knowing their origins. Mr. Kagbo said that immediately when he came back, he updated the Minister of Tourism and they started communicating with them until they finally arrived in the country. SABC TV News are in Freetown.
Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow has said that government will soon establish an industrial zone between Waterloo and Fomal. The Vice President was speaking at the launch of the Waterloo Bicentenary celebrations at the King Yacht, Waterloo. Thomas Nick now reports.
Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow informed the people of Waterloo that the industrialized zone will host factories and industries that will provide employment for the youths of Waterloo and its environs. He disclosed that technical and vocational institutes will also be constructed to support and empower the youth. Vice President further stated that government will construct a museum which will capture the rich history of Waterloo and will provide the children the opportunity to know about Waterloo. Lompard, the Vice President, went on, will benefit from electricity by December this year, adding that construction of a substation in Waterloo will make the dream a reality. The chairman, Western Area Rural District Council, Kasho Olankole, said despite the political differences in Waterloo, they still live in peace and harmony. He said the council is pleased to celebrate with the people of Waterloo and will continue to support them. Mr. Olankole cited youth empowerment as one of the challenges facing the council and called on government to help address it. One of the sons of Waterloo, Christo Johnson, said the celebration was meant to educate the present generation about the rich culture and tradition of the community. In another engagement, Vice President Dr. Mohamed Jule Jallow was a guest of honor at a fundraising program organized by the United Communities of Basharia Mission in Port Loko. Making a presentation of 50 million yuans, Vice President Dr. Mohamed Jule Jallow said the Jamaat must ensure that they preach unity and love amongst the people of the district, adding that the district lacks social justice. The national president Jamal Tubiri Alhaji Hassan Kamara said the Basharia mission is non-political and thanked the vice president for his donation. Also, as part of an activity to mark this year's Independence Day, Vice President Dr. Mohamed Jule Jallow joined sons and daughters of the district to celebrate the day. Stakeholders and school children marched through the streets of Port Loko. Addressing the people of Port Loko, Vice President Dr. Mohamed Jule Jallow said the meeting was to join hands and discuss issues relating to the district and call on the youth to rise to the challenges facing the district. For News Hour in Freetown, Thomas Neal reporting.
The former Director General of the then Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service, Jipu Felix George, has passed away in Manchester, England. The late former Director General, who served from 1987 to 1992 and 1996 to 1997, was known to be one of the renowned broadcasters of his time. Joseph Toure spoke to some staff who worked with him.
It's a sad moment for me. When I heard about his death this afternoon, I felt so sad. Because when I came to the SLBS then, 33 years ago, he was the director of programs, and he was instructed by the then Director General, Mr. Mohamed Jawad Tunis, to audition me for radio, because he said that I have a nice voice for broadcasting, and so he was instructed by him to audition me. So he was my first teacher. Jipu was a broadcaster, a real broadcaster, a true broadcaster. He was a commentator, commentating football activities, and whenever there are public functions on public state functions at State House or anywhere, he does the commentary, you know, and he had a very, very good voice.
He's an icon, a legend journalist broadcaster that one want to imitate, you know. So I admired him so much. That is, in fact, one of the basis that brought me into broadcasting.
Whenever GFG handles the mic, you know he's on the airwaves. He's all over the place. People who are very, very active in listening to him. People who want to hear him. And when he speaks, you will not want him to speak for a very short time. Because he was that kind of person. He was all over the place. When he comes to work in the morning, he monitors both the radio, and in fact, he was, at times, you would feel you trained people. As you talk to him, he knows you will be a very better person on the airwaves.
Well, I came to love Jipu even before meeting him personally. When I was in school in the provinces, I used to listen to his presentations. His running of commentaries of football matches, presentation of musical programs, DJs. And up till now, I can remember some of his cliches. Give it to me, I give it to you, when he was on radio. Oh, he was very good at it. And then later on in life, I came to Freetown and eventually came to work at the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service. There I met the same person, Jipo Phyllis George, as director of this.
Rest in perfect peace. The Saving Life Initiative organization, together with Sierra Leone Medical Service, has started a 5-day free surgical mission for over 30 people suffering from hernia and orthopedic cases. Surgery, which is ongoing at the Sierra Leone Police Hospital at King Tom, is also a training session for the police medical doctors and nurses. Mariam Suma reports.
Osman Bangura has gone through a successful hernia surgery and he is now fine, responding to treatment, whilst Mohamed Bangura is set to undergo his surgery. Others are also preparing to go through the same surgery. In this surgical theater are surgeons from the Saving Life Initiative organization and a team of the Sierra Leonean Police Medical Service. These patients have been suffering for a while now, and they are fortunate to be operated by this medical team after they were properly screened at the hospital. Speaking to SLBC, a team member of the Saving Life Initiative organization and also an anesthetist, Mada Koroma, said the Saving Life Initiative organization comprises Sierra Leonean medical doctors based in the U.S. who have decided to come home and render their service to their country. He said they have been working with the police medical service and especially with the Sierra Leone Police Hospital at King Tom. He added this will be the first time that the Sierra Leone Police Hospital will be conducting surgical operations in the hospital.
So again, let me just reiterate that all the guys that I've mentioned are all Sierra Leoneans. We happen to be living in the United States and we've all practiced there, and we happen to be fortunate enough to have a skill set that is in high demand in Sierra Leone. So we got together through the leadership of Abdulmalik Jallo Jambore and Badara Kamara and John Cole to kind of like engage us to come together to form a team to be able to come back and provide healthcare to our people. So that's how this all started. I realized that the Sierra Leone Police just had a new hospital, but without the surgical capability. So we realized that there's a need within the Sierra Leone Police Force for us to deliver healthcare to the people of the Sierra Leone Police.
According to these patients, the coming of the Saving Life Initiative is very much timely, as they were going through a lot of pains, but that they are optimistic that after the surgery, they will start living a normal life. AIG Dr. Mohamed Jallo is the director of the Police Medical Service attached to the Sierra Leone Police Hospital. He said that there has been a lot of development within the Sierra Leone Medical Service and that they are trying to expand their service all over the country to give quality service delivery to the police force in the country. He said the hospital has got 2 dedicated operating theaters, and with that, the Saving Life Initiative decided for the first time to make use of it by giving free medical service to Sierra Leoneans, particularly the police force.
You're looking at all general surgeries and some form of orthopedics. So of course, you've actually talked about hernias, we're looking at lipomas, we're looking at all bumps. And basically, if you're surgically fit, definitely you'll be put, you'll be triaged and assessed for surgery. If you're not fit, definitely, we advise you appropriately. And of course, if it's a surgical case, we also advise you appropriately. We also do orthopedics, that's bones and whatever. What they're able to do, they will do that.
Meanwhile, other police personnel going through medical treatments at the Sierra Leone Police Hospital thanked government for the establishment of the hospital and asked the government to give helping hand to the hospital by providing medical equipment such as X-ray machines for quality service delivery. SLBC News, Mariam Asuma reporting.
Forever Faith Minor has donated food and non-food items to fire victims in Benge and Masori villages, Kasipoto section in Bompe Chiefdom, Moyamba district. The items include rice, teaching and learning materials, and used clothing. So Rasamura reports.
The fire destroyed the two villages at a time when the villagers were away in their farms, and by the time they could return, everything had been burnt down. 20 houses and a mosque in one of the villages could not be saved because everyone feared the rage of the fire. Benge and Masuri were the villages that fire engulfed almost 2 weeks ago. This old woman, the house was the first to be touched, and after this, other houses went on fire. But according to her, she couldn't even explain, lest to say she understands where the fire came from. All she could tell is that her granddaughter informed her that their house was on fire. Katimu Masako is the oldest woman affected, and with 5 grandchildren to look after, she lost everything including her crops. She had to send the children to her relative as she could no longer provide for the family because the reserved food had been burnt down.
I could not recall what caused the fire because I was not in a correct state of mind. I am confused up to now. I am now sleeping on the floor in my neighbor's parlor. Life is still difficult for me as an old woman.
The managing director of Forever Faith Mining Company, Joseph Conte, told SLBC that even though the company is not operating in the chiefdom where the two villages are, they saw the felt need when Paramount Chief of Bumpe, Charles Coker, approached them for help. He said they decided to do the donation because the people had lost everything, adding that the company will consider giving building materials to the affected persons as the rainy season is approaching.
Sometime last week, I have received a call from the Paramount Chief reporting that he had an incident, fire incident, in 2 of his villages. I reported that 9 and 10 houses were burnt down completely, respectively. So he asked me to rush to the scene and see how best we can chip in and render assistance to the people. So we came in, we did our own findings, and were able to get data. And then I went to Freetown and then spoke with my bosses.
Member of Parliament for Constituency 93, Honorable Amadou Kanu, expressed gratitude to the Forever Faith Mining Company for coming to the aid of his people at a time like this. He implored the management of the company to consider more help as the victims are in dire need of other arms. Advocating for more help for the children, the chair of the Bumpe Chiefdom Child Welfare Committee, Rosalind Kembe, said the children had been out of school since the fire accident and they must return to school. She appreciated the efforts made by Paramount Chief Charles Coker but called on other stakeholders to do the same. At Masori village, the section chief of Kasipoto, John Coker, warned the people against using the disaster to enrich themselves. He told them that if anyone is found culpable, he will stop at nothing to bring them to book. Soriba Samura, Freetown.
The Member of Parliament for Constituency 019, who doubles as the Deputy Leader and Chairman of the Appointments Committee, Honorable Matthew Numa, has commissioned the newly refurbished constituency office in Kenema. Our reporter Amara Sumaila was there and sent in this report, read by Soriba Samura.
The Kenema District School Chairman and leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party, Moriba Kuruma, called on his audience to emulate Honorable Sir Matthew Numa, admonishing them not to forget their home. He said Honorable Numa has made SLPP and that the district is well represented in Parliament. Giving a background to the project manager Victor Brima Kamara stated that The title of the project is Yuma's Drive. He explained that the project has two phases, which are infrastructure and economic support. As part of the project, he went on, they have budgeted 269 million loans as a microcredit for 260 business people. Mayor of Kenema, Thomas Bayo, expressed gratitude to the constituency for choosing Sir Yuma as their representative in Parliament. He disclosed that he had already purchased the land for the construction of the party's office. He appealed to the district members to unite in order to bring development in the district. He expressed commitment to construct the road leading to the constituency's office within 4 days. He called on party members to exercise patience, as it is the only way to reap the benefit. He maintained that if SLPP had not won the election, Dr. Harding would have been in prison because he called on SLPP supporters to jubilate and even before the final result was announced. Member of Parliament of Constituency 019, Sir Martin Yuma, stated that the project is part of his agenda for his constituency.
It's a money that you can say that's what we call facilitation, and the last Parliament, I think the second to last term of their tenure of office, they decided to have development fund. So this time when we said 70 million to run it up, it's a very small money, it's a pittance for you to undertake development. But you can appreciate it, you can start somewhere. So what did we do? We decided to accept it to have constituency offices. Don't forget, our people have to connect with us. They need to interface with us. We don't have a particular locality where we can meet with our constituents. Now don't forget, we are voted in with mixture of people. From the people who are not interested in much of politics, but they just are voters. You have people in fact who are APC, they can still vote for you, they believe in you. And people are SLPP, from me, I'm representing the SLPP, they can vote for me, and other political parties. So if you have a constituency office, it is clear that people come around you, talk to you and explain the problems or what you can do as an MP to help the people to develop your constituency.
Keynote speaker, chairman and leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party, Dr. Prince Alex Harding, elaborated on the complaints made by SLPP members from various parts of the country.
The Minister of Lands has ordered the school administration of Word of School, Rokel, to continue schooling without intimidation by those claiming to own the land occupied by the school. The minister made a visit to the school. Esther Marisa was with the team.
These pupils were in jubilant mood with placards welcoming the minister and his team who were at the school to settle long-standing disputes over the land occupied by the school. The land is alleged to be owned by Mr. Mohammed Tunde Kouma. Word of School was established in 2002, giving free education to children in Rokel community. Head woman of the Rokel community, Juliana Williams, explained that people are fighting over the said piece of land for a very long time, and that has affected Word of School. She said that she doesn't know the actual owners of the land and called on the minister to intervene in the situation in combating the fighting, because pupils can't access their school. Minister of Lands, Dr. Dennis Sandy, said education is the flagship program of the government and it will benefit the people of Sierra Leone. He said his administration will not condone any land grabbing. Dr. Sandy said lawyer Hemo Sise has no right to ask Word of School to vacate the land.
First, we have held discussions with them. We've told them exactly what to expect from those claiming this property. They need to provide an authentic site plan. Until that is done, they have no claims over this land. And don't forget, you've explained that this land was bought from the Germans several years ago for an amount to the tune of about 120 million euros. And this has been a school property all this while. So it's simple. If you think you have legal ownership over this piece of property here, all you need to do is to bring your site plan for verification, and then of course we'll now take decision on that and then write a report for the attention of the police. But until that happens, you have no claim over this land.
In another development, Dr. Sande has warned trespassers to stop erecting structures on land owned by Professor Mansaye at Babu College, Allentown. He also warned Abdul Gadik Sakor not to trespass on Mamisat Posoa's land. At King Street in Freetown, the ministry placed a signboard on a state land purported to be owned by Louis Oba. Esther Marie Samoa, SLBC.
In relation to the Minister of Lands placing a signboard at a land at King Street, a representative of the Oba family, Yvette Oba Shares, has told SLBC that the land alleged by the minister to be a state land is their bona fide property. According to her, they were never consulted by the ministry before placing the signboard on the land. Yvette Oba Shares spoke more to Esther Marie Samora.
The land with a building on it was owned by my grandfather, Mr. Thompson, and he left it on his will, the property on his will, to his girls. He had 3 girls, Maisie Thompson, Blanche Thompson, and my grandmother, Yulie Thompson, was married to Clinton, Yulie Clinton. When they died, they left the property to Yulie Clinton's daughters, who are Jean Clinton, married Jean Palmer, and Marjorie Clinton married Marjorie Oba, who is our mother. Now, because they're both sisters owning the property was sold to my sister at a market value. There used to be a wooden property on that land where my grandfather stayed, where my grandparents stayed, my great-grandfather stayed, and my grandparents stayed. And we used to go play there as kids as far back as 1965.
Okay, so now as we speak, do you have documents in relation to these properties?
I have the conveyance. I have the conveyance which was conveyed to Louis Oba by my mother, Marjorie Oba, and Jean Clinton. Their father had conveyed this conveyance to the 3 daughters. I was actually in town at a meeting when I got a call to say there are armed men, both military personnel and police, on the land. They've gone there with about 5 or 6 vehicles, and they've noted that they've put a repossession signboard on the land. And I'm thinking, I just do not understand, because to me, I'll put that down as jungle justice. There is a law. There is a law in the country. If that is the case, if he didn't want to go to lawyers, he could have sent a message and called us. Can you bring your papers? And maybe might want to think that there's no building on the land, but there was a building, and there's going to be a building put up. My message is, Mr. Minister, maybe you need to call us. We're not fighting. It's not a war. You need to call us and ask us for necessary documents. We'll produce this document. If it is not enough documents for you or doesn't answer to all your questions, and then you can send us to the legal side of things. But going with armed soldiers and armed police, what have we done to deserve armed soldier presence? We know what we've been through in Sierra Leone.
Landowner at King Street, Yvette Oba Shares. The 41st Annual General Meeting and Education Conference of the West African Insurance Companies Association has ended with the election of its president, Raymond Macaulay. Mr. Macaulay is the Managing Director of Oriel Insurance Company and President of the Sierra Leone Insurance Association. Hawana Takante now reports.
The West African Insurance Companies Association was founded in 1973 by insurance institutions in the West African-speaking countries of the Gambia, Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. The Waika outgoing president, Gambian-born Makare Badjan, encouraged colleagues to catch up with the pace and opportunities of strategic collaborations with banks and telecom companies for greater penetration of their economies. He said he will continue to participate actively on the objectives of the association. Mr. Badjan thanked WICA Governing Council for the support given to him during his tenure and implored colleagues to remain committed to the realization of the objectives of WICA. The incoming president, Raymond Macaulay, said his journey with WICA started when he was nominated as delegate to the 17th Annual General Meeting and Education Conference in 1991. He acknowledged the achievements of WICA, noting that they will focus on perennial issues that are negatively impacting their image. Mr. Macaulay reminded members of their efficient claims management systems and adopting the culture of contract certainty, among others. He promised to build on the foundations he made.
In case you've just joined us, this is News Hour coming to you live on SMBC Television. The women's leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party, Fatmata Sawane, has celebrated the 58th independence anniversary with children, women and men who are in critical condition at Connaught, Princess Christian and 34 military hospitals. During her visit, she distributed food to more than 100 patients at the different hospitals. Aminash Nyandi Brema filed in this report.
All over the country, there were celebrations by Sierra Leoneans and non-Sierra Leoneans on the country's 58th independence anniversary. Speaking to parents at the different hospitals, the SLPP women's leader Fatmata Sawane called on patients to have hopes amidst their health conditions. Fatmata Sawane said she chose to celebrate with the sick and the beggars because they are also important in society.
The other ones, what I will do is to call police and other people who are willing to help and tell them, look, people are suffering because some die out of this because they don't have money to feed themselves. If they have money, they'll be well and leave the hospital. So at the end of the day, those three I can handle, the two little girls and a boy, that's what I can handle for now. Others I cannot handle, then I will call other people and try to see how we can help.
Fatmata Sawane also distributed items of the chairman of Help Empower Polio Persons Organization, Ishmael Bori, at Pademba Road. During the visit at the children's surgical wards at the Connaught Hospital, Fatmata Sawane spoke with the 15 children who were hospitalized and promised to take care of the medical bills of 3 children. 3 of the patients are 1, 6 and 10-year-old who were desperately in need of help to enable them undergo their surgery. One of the beneficiaries, 1-year-old Anita J. Rogers, mistakenly fell in hot water that left her waist and private part with serious burns. Another beneficiary, Hasanatu Kamara, a 6-year-old, is hospitalized because she mistakenly swallowed super glue needle. According to the doctor, the case is critical, though the first operation has been conducted on Hasanatu but was not successful as the doctors could not find the needle. Hasanatu needs to undergo another operation.
Police have asked members of the Wilberforce Street Disabled Group to vacate an unfinished building at Wallace Johnson Street in Freetown. Members of the Wilberforce Street Disabled Group on Sunday occupied the unfinished building with the reason that they were driven from the place they used to sleep at Wilberforce Street. Francis Danema reports.
These persons with disabilities used to sleep at Wilberforce Street. They came to this building where garbage was disposed and cleared the garbage out so that they can occupy it for dwelling purpose. According to the chairman of the group, Petrus Thomas, they were asked to vacate the place they were sleeping at Wilberforce Street by authorities of Freetown City Council. He said they occupied this building because they saw that nobody was using the structure and it was only used as garbage disposing sites.
Sent people to demolish the places we used to sleep and left us homeless. We are Sierra Leoneans too and deserve dignified places to live. Since our displacement was impromptu and we have nowhere to go, we came here. See, were better than the garbage that was littered here. We decided to clean the garbage and put up here until we have a place.
The mayor of Freetown City Council, Yvonne Akinsoya, said her council has identified a place in Waterloo for them which they are planning to develop very soon to give them the dignified living they deserve. She called on them to first meet the owner of the unfinished structure to allow them to occupy it, since it is not a council property. Local Unit Commander, Central Police Division Francis Hazley, said they allowed them to occupy the building on Sunday night because they had nowhere to go, but they can't allow them to stay there for another day.
But they say we're more beer than yesterday. We allowed them to sleep last night and discuss the issue in the morning. We can no longer allow them to occupy this building as it is private owned. We will try hard not to use force on them. We know that they have land at Waterloo and Grafton. Let them go and develop them. They don't give their land, like Grafton, and they don't give their land, like Waterloo. They will go develop them.
The mayor of Freetown City Council, Yvonne Akinsoya, later sent truck to take away the garbage that was removed from the unfinished house by the Wilberforce Street Disabled Group. SLBC News, Francis Ndanema reporting.
And now for some news around the African continent. The death toll in cyclone hit northern Mozambique has risen to 38, officials say, as aid workers struggle to reach the worst affected areas. Cyclone Kenneth struck the southern African nation last week with winds of 220 kilometers per hour, flattening villages and damaging thousands more homes. The storm lost strength, but torrential rain and high winds were still battering the area on Monday. As a result, flights have been grounded, hindering the aid effort. It is predicted the weather system will dump twice as much rainfall as Cyclone Idai when it struck last month, leaving more than 900 dead across Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. Gunmen have opened fire on a church in northern Burkina Faso, killing at least 6 people, officials say. The attackers reportedly arrived on 7 motorbikes at the end of Sunday's service and killed the pastor, 2 of his sons, and 3 other worshippers. It is the first attack on a church since jihadist violence erupted in the West African country in 2016. Fighters affiliated to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group, as well as the local Ansarul Islam, have been active. Organizers of the Trist Half Marathon have reversed a ban on professional African athletes after an outcry in Italy and the launch of an inquiry. Event manager Fabio Carini had originally defended the ban by saying it was to highlight that African runners were underpaid by their agents. However, the controversial decision was described by critics as racist. Mr. Kani later apologized for causing offense, but said a fundamental issue of ethics had been highlighted. The issue of racism in sports made headlines earlier this month when Juventus teenage forward Moise Kean was the target of a racist abuse in a Serie A match. Well, now for the entertainment news with King Milan. Richard Sonny Kulanda, popularly known as Bigger Rise, based in Germany, was a member of one of Sierra Leone's hottest traditional music groups called 2+1. From his base in Germany, Bigger Rise, our entertainment producer, Mohammed King Milan Bangura, engaged him in an interview and compiled this report on his music life out of the country and the release of his new music video.
The music industry in the country has been crippling since the late 90s. Since Jimmy Bangura came from South Africa to relocate in his motherland with the motive of helping promote our local musicians, many musicians under his Paradise record label were loved by music lovers, especially for their songs produced by the label. The brain behind such extraordinary sound was a French sound engineer, Charles Ostrov, who later left the Paradise Records and formed his own record label called Studio J. Many artists came under that label showcasing their talent. Artists like Manzula Vexibos, Camouflage, CJ, C-Bass, and one of the hottest traditional group at that time called 2+1. The latter group released one of the hottest traditional songs at that time called Ampoto. Three of them formed the group, but after the release of their album, they separated, and each of them went their own separate ways. But one kept his talent awake. His name, Bigger Risk, as was popularly known. Bigger Risk was born as Richard Sonny Kulanda in Bo. He attended the Christ the King College. He started his career as a comedian in Bo and was part of the comedy group called Stars Combined alongside Temperature and the late Momo Wanka. In the late 2000s, he left Sierra Leone for China. According to him, there was no financial benefit in the music industry here, and as a breadwinner of the family, he had to leave for China to fend for his family.
Yeah, well, actually, I've left Salon for go China because of a deal I've been get.
He said he worked with a Chinese tourist company called Overseas Chinese Town and released his first music album in China titled Born Sierra Leone, which he also released and launched in Sierra Leone. He changed the stage name from Bigger Risk to Bigger Rise. According to him, he is now rising in terms of talent and skills. At present, Bigger Risk is in Germany, where he has decided to stay permanently. He said his focus now is to open a project of a studio and recording label titled Rise Stays on Pami Entertainment Group to help in promoting our local stars. He said he has finished his course as a video editor and sound engineer, and most of his songs are produced by himself, including a music video he has decided to premiere called Low, a song that speaks of a lady that left his childhood lover for his selfish and pompous young guy.
Tell me, baby on the beat. Baby, let me go for that boy will always see you.
Bigger Risk said he has been following the entertainment industry and is far away from the country, but still yet expresses love for the old and young talent. He praised them for their effort amidst difficulties, and still yet good songs are still produced in the country. He appreciated the government in their efforts to build the industry, but pleaded for more support as the outside world is awaiting Sierra Leone songs and movies.
This kind of thing to me. Oh my baby, oh my baby, baby.
That was the entertainment news with King Milan. And now for sports, we go over to our sports desk.
Hello and welcome. In this edition of Sports Update, Canadian Sierra Leonean boxer Didra Chestnut has won the 2019 Box Fest organized by the Sierra Leone Boxing Association. She defeated local boxer Zainab Kata by unanimous decision. The event was held at the Siaka Stevens Stadium in Bull as part of the country's 58th independence celebration. Here is a report.
The box feast captured the attention of many Sierra Leoneans that witnessed the fight. Director of Sports, Ministry of Sports, Dr. Kenneth Bremer, thanked the executive of the Sierra Leone Boxing Association for their efforts in promoting boxing in the country amidst the many challenges. He noted that government will continue supporting sporting disciplines, including boxing. The opening bout was between Sierra Leone's Tamba Sogbo and Liberia's Cyrus Gabe in the 56 kg, and Tamba won. This bout sets the pace for the other bout. The fight of the night between Didra Chestnut and Zainab Kata was marred with much action, with Didra doing more of the attacks and eventually won by a unanimous decision by the judges. According to Didra, the winning is as a result of her hard trainings and called on all to continue working hard.
I want to say thank you to everybody for all the support, for all the welcoming. And this is not about who won, this is not about who's a better boxer. It's about us bringing all women together and growing the sport, encouraging women to join the sport, to join the discipline. It's about elevating fear.
President of the Sierra Leone Boxing Association, Eric Douassissé, thanked the Liberia delegation for participating in the international friendly encounter and noted that this tie between the two countries will continue. Esther Marie Samoa, SLBC. Leadership of the Sierra Leone Cycling Association, headed by Percy Nicholson, has ended the 2019 independent cycling competition staged in Lungay. The independent cycling race, sponsored by the Sierra Leone Airport Authority, targets 20 cyclists that took part in the competition. Here is the report. Independent cycling competition is an annual event organized by the executive of the Sierra Leone Cycling Association in Lungay, but was put on hold due to the outbreak of the Ebola scourge in the country. In the junior category, Keifa Koma came first, covering a distance of 34 miles, and Mohamed Bangura came second, defeated by Keifa within a time of 3 minutes. In the senior category, it was a stiff contest that was won by Augustine Cisse, who defeated second place Fala Faya by 30 seconds, and this race was considered by many as the race for the strong and skilled cyclist. Both winners attributed their winning to hard work.
I feel good because it's not the first time being a champion. I've been a champion since.
I am so happy for winning the senior category, but this is because of my hard work and commitment. I hope to compete in more competitions, and I will continue training to build on my skills and speed.
Sportsman always, if I train.
I have been training effectively for this race. At first, my name was not shortlisted, but I never relaxed. I was still training before I was finally included in the race. I'm very happy and hope to win more cycling race.
This event I can win, so I look proud.
Prizes were distributed to the winners, first and second runners-up. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Sports has asked that Winston Crowder continue to serve as president of the association that will take the delegates of the association to an elective congress shortly. Esther Marie Samoa, SLBC. That's all for this edition of Sports Updates, and thanks for watching. I am Esther Marie Samoa saying goodbye.
Well, that was the sports update with the delectable Esther Marie Samura. Well, to end the news, the main points again. Some African Americans with Sierra Leonean origin have received passports from President Julius Maada Bio at State House. The government is to establish an industrial zone between Waterloo and Formal. Former Director General of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service, Jipo Felix George, has passed on in the United Kingdom at age 77. And the Managing Director of Oriel Insurance Company, Raymond McCauley, has been elected as President of the West African Insurance Companies Association, WICA. Well, that's all in this edition of the news. Goodbye. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamara.